how the commodities market turmoil is affecting Australia. I'm very pleased to say we're joined by Josh Frydenberg, who is Australia's Minister for Resources and Energy. It's his first interview of the day, and he joins us on the phone now from Turkey. Great to have you on the programme, Josh. Thanks for joining us. You become Australia's Resources Minister just in the past few weeks at a time of huge volatility in commodity markets. What do you make of the turmoil that you see right now?
Well, certainly there has been a lot of volatility in international markets, and that's been a function of changes on the supply and the demand side. What's been interesting in recent years building to this point is that the US has overtaken Saudi Arabia as the world's largest producer of oil and gas, and that's also, that's very significant. And with Iran soon to have its sanctions lifted, that will be another factor that will come into the energy markets. But I look at the fundamentals of energy, and I still think it's positive. I mean, global energy demand is expected to increase by the IEA by 1/3 by 2040. Now, that's going to require tens of trillions of dollars worth of infrastructure investment. Australia is very innovative and experienced in the resources space, and as you know, we have a large natural endowment of resources. We're the second largest exporter of coal in the world, and by 2019, 2020 will be the largest exporter of LNG in the world. So Australia is looking to leverage off those existing market positions to increase the emphasis on technology and to welcome new investment into our country.
Minister, though, we've just been having a conversation around the desk. Apparently Moody's thinks that half of the world's coal production is unprofitable right now. What does the slowdown in China then mean for you? Because that's the extent of the impact on the coal industry generally. But what about the impact on your economy?
Well, Australia's coal is low sulphur and low in ash, and it's helping to fuel those electricity generating coal-fired plants in China that are high efficiency and low emissions. So we actually have the type of coal that we're exporting, which is being used in these new Healy-type electricity coal-fired plants. So we're actually well positioned there. But you're right, there's been a slowdown in international prices, and particularly coming out of China, and that is going to have a knock-on effect to countries like Australia in terms of the investments that may be made over the coming period. But it's still an attractive proposition, the energy space, because global demand will increase exponentially over time.
Your government is trying to rein in a budget deficit forecast to reach, I think, 35 billion Australian dollars in 2015 fiscal year. As tax receipts associated with the commodities sector are coming under pressure, is it going to be more difficult for you to meet those targets?
Well, look, we'll have more to say about that when we update the budget at the end of the year and what is called the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook. But our resources sector is still strong, and your listeners should understand that there is a great deal of wealth creation, there's a great deal of employment, there's a great deal of export income that is being produced by our resources sector. And we're actually in the third stage now in the resources space. We had the prices boom, which reflected the industrialisation of China and the increase in prices and demand for commodities. Then we saw record investment in the second stage, the investment boom, where some $400 billion was invested in infrastructure in the resources space in Australia over the decade between 2003 and 2014. And now we're in the production phase where our volumes have increased significantly. For example, our iron ore export volumes are 3 times what they were a decade ago, and our coal export volumes are twice what they were a decade ago. So it's a natural transition that is taking place in the Australian space. But as far as our budget is concerned, I'm still upbeat about the impact that the resources space will have on our bottom line.
You must have been watching with interest, being as you represent this sector in a country that's so exposed to mining, Minister. You must have been watching with interest what's been happening with Glencore. They have a presence in your country. What's your read of the situation around Glencore and where this could go?
Well, look, there are market deliberations that will take place between investors, and governments have to be very careful not to speculate on what may or may not be an investor's decision. Look, Glencore have a degree of high-quality assets in Australia. They are a significant player in our resources space, and as far as international market stability is concerned, hopefully we'll see that stability come back and companies like Glencore return to a strong market position.
Just briefly, on the LNG side of things, Minister, do you expect that the momentum behind the LNG projects in Australia is reduced because of the weakness in the oil price?
Look, certainly the LNG space has been the subject of major investment in our country over recent years. So we're now moving to that production phase, and those investments have already been made. A lot of contracts have already been signed. So I'm upbeat about the LNG space as well. And as you know, gas is a cleaner form of energy supply, and the gas demands also will continue to increase in the coming years, particularly from the developing nations in our region. So there is a bit of volatility. There is the super cycle coming back to normalised cyclical patterns of demand, but I'm still upbeat.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us. Apologies about the quality of the line. The Australian Minister for Resources and Energy, Josh Frydenberg, joining us there on the phone. Thank you to Tim Coulter. Lena Komaleva stays with us from